So I just watched Gladiator 2 and it wasn't great. I have a lot of nostalgia for the original Gladiator and I watched it so many times. And I'll admit there is some bias there, but its connection to the original aside, this movie just wasn't that good. I mean, everything you would expect to be good was good. The effects, the production value, the set pieces, getting us immersed into the time period and everything, all of that was really good. And especially the hand to hand combat was insanely good. There's this one scene where he fights a hairless baboon. It's actually kind of hard to mix a CG character with a real character and make it look convincing, but they did it like pretty well. Despite the action scenes being technically very convincing, they just weren't as captivating as they should have been. But this is because of two big issues. Issue 1. This movie achieves a level of goofiness previously thought impossible. The first thing that's really goofy is the fact that there's a guy in this movie riding a rhino. I mean, my god. So, the other slightly more important issue with the action scenes is that we need a lot more build up. Like, for example, let's say before we see the rhino guy, we should see a scene of the rhino guy outside the Colosseum being introduced, like maybe being a dick to some helpless person, and like the hero confronts him or something, and they have like a face off or something, and the hero is like, I'll see you inside the Colosseum or something like that. But there wasn't anything like that. It just kind of jumps into every action scene without setting up something. And if you don't set up something, we end up just not caring as much, which is a big issue I've noticed with a lot of action scenes these days, is that they focus on the technical perfection of it so much, but they just don't create characters or situations that you root for or against. We have the same issue with the lack of build up in like the opening scene of the movie. We just jump straight into the inciting incident, which I know might sound like a good thing, but we need to be introduced to the character here. Otherwise, we just don't care about what's happening. We need to have some introduction to his wife, and we especially need some introduction on him. We need to understand why he cares about what he cares about. We need to understand why the events of the movie mean so much to him, right? We need to understand when we see his homeland get destroyed, why that means so much to him and why that takes such a toll on him. But they just don't really do any of that. They just jump straight into it. Later on in the movie, we're made aware of the fact that he has ideals, and it feels like that kind of comes out of nowhere. They show him a few times talking about like the dream of Rome or whatever, and it's like, when did you develop this? Where did this come from? I also disagree with this movie's decision to make this guy not as proactive. He needs to be a character that decides to do things on his own rather than just go with the flow. Honestly, the movie begins and just the events that happen just take him places, and he just gets presented opportunities along the way. The way it needs to be is that he himself takes action and does something about his situation or does something to achieve his goals, rather than just things happen to him and he just makes the best of it. But it also gets to this point where he starts talking about his ideals and the dream of Rome and things. It actually seems like this guy has some kind of goal and some kind of positive plan. And I feel like if that was the case, they should have made him a proactive character from the beginning. Also, his wife felt like a plot device. I think the lead is a little emotionless. And I understand the appeal of like a stoic character or whatever, but there are some times when even a character like that should show some emotion. Even if they're not outright crying, they should be some kind of element like they feel like crying but they're holding it back or something like that. Yeah, I mean, literally at the point where his mom dies, he's just completely emotionless. So we need that scene where he starts to break down crying and then snaps out of it immediately because he realizes he's in the middle of the battle or something like that. It can't just be that he feels no emotion after his mom dies. So it's okay if you make it a part of the character that he makes an effort to hold back emotion and tries to be stoic, but it doesn't make sense if he doesn't feel emotion. That's just not a hero anyone wants to root for. I mean, the most badass characters of all time felt emotion. Fucking Maximus from the last one felt emotion. At least there's no moment in the first one where you felt like he was reacting unnaturally. Another big issue with this movie is that it didn't develop enough relationships between characters. When you see a movie about a group of soldiers, the brotherhood between those characters and the bond that they share is focused on a lot more usually. I'm gonna be honest, even in the first one, this was a little lacking, but at least there's something there. You do see at least a few friendly interactions between Maximus and the other gladiators, though there definitely could have been a lot more. I don't understand why so many movies misunderstand the main appeal of fictional stories. I mean, the most important thing is for us to care about the characters, and that's what makes us invested in the outcome of the movie. Of course, you have a few movies that go away from this a little bit and have protagonists that are actually bad people and you don't actually like that much. But this is not one of those movies. This is not that deep. It's a very straightforward action movie, and they should have stuck to the basics.
Fucking Gladiator, you fuck!
Okay, now I'm going to talk about the villains. The villains were just annoying assholes. I feel like Joaquin Phoenix in the last one had a lot more depth. As annoying and hateable as he was, there was a lot of humanity there. Insecurity, inadequacy, narcissism. He wasn't just like a random evil guy. Honestly, I think they should have just skipped the whole like Denzel takes over the throne subplot and just had like a competent tyrant character on the throne from the beginning. I did like the contrast between Denzel's worldview and the hero's worldview, but it would have been a lot more simple and a lot more effective if the guy on the throne was the one with that worldview and the hero just confronts him directly from the beginning. And we didn't have these random assholes. I mean, where the fuck did they even come from? And also, if your hero is an invincible, undefeated badass, don't end the movie with him fighting a 70-year-old. I mean, and lastly, I guess there's just one minor point. I wish the movie had a little more ambience to it, especially when you make like a period picture. I would love to have more elements in the movie that kind of immerses you into that world. I mean, just a simple example, right? There's that scene where Denzel goes to meet Lucilla, and all they needed was a scene of her like watering her plants or having breakfast or something like that. And in other parts of the movie, maybe you could have had someone cleaning armor or doing some kind of chore while having like important conversations. Again, the original could have definitely had more scenes like this as well. It is a bit lacking in this area, but at least it had a few scenes like this one or this one. Overall, this movie was very disappointing, and I'm giving it a 40%. Honestly, the only thing saving it is like the fucking music that was already there in the last one and the visuals. Honestly, it doesn't do anything more than that. It's genuinely puzzling to me why filmmakers spend so much money on the technical aspects of a movie without first refining the script. Honestly, you'd think like all this money is wasted on a script that's not that good. And I'm going to be honest, it's not like some kind of crazy mystery that the script is not good. Like the people making the movie know the script is not good. You don't need to be some kind of writing genius to write this movie. Like anyone could do it. It's literally the same thing we've seen a fucking million times. Anyway, thanks for watching and subscribe for more. And click this video or whatever where I'm probably talking about a movie I actually do like.